Yo, what's happening, y'all? It's your man Valentine, baby. Coming to you from on the grind. Man, I know. Van City rules, baby. You know I gotta give it to you. The outdoor edition, man. It's sunny. You can't go nowhere else besides Van City, man. This house gonna go down. On the grind outside. Home edition style. It's how we do it, baby. Yo, so I know yesterday I brought y'all something, man, with reparations, man, and I couldn't help it, but I gotta talk about it today again because there's probably still some more stuff that we gotta talk about, and there's always more about reparations, man, and today I'm gonna give you a little reparations, why reparations, and then who's for it and who's against it. You feel me? So there's plenty, and there's some crazy things, man. But we'll get into it. So, but before we get into that, man, you remember all that stuff about name changing and everything else? Guess what? University of Simon Fraser is gonna change their name. Had a big old thing yesterday where they're changing the name, so they's gonna drop the Klansman. I mean, listen. Come on, y'all. You already know. I mean, every time you hear that name, you know what that makes you think of. If you a black or even an indigenous person, that you know what that makes you think of, or it makes you cringe. You feel what I'm saying? So I'm happy that they gonna do it because it's about doggone time. And so black people who go to that school you don't have to defend or say anything and explain why you going to that school. Now you don't have to. You feel what I'm saying? So congratulations on that. We don't know when they're gonna get a new name, but they're gonna get a new name. That's all that matters right there. So, hey, happy days on that one, man. Yeah, isn't it? It's what I'm saying. Oh yeah. Now, so we're gonna get into this a little bit more in this reparations thing, man, because I mean, there has to be like monetary payments, man, like scholarships and things like that, and even land fees and waiving of fees for systemic injustices. I'm gonna read it to y'all because I wrote it down so I don't forget it. And the land-based compensation related to injustices, like I said, and apologies, and even acknowledgement of injustices, tokenary measures. And if y'all was watching where they were talking about removing monuments and naming and things like that, and even streets, so they would use this as some sort of compensation, where you would take a monument down for reparation. You would name a street that was called maybe a slave master who the street was named after, and they would name it a different street for reparation. You feel what I'm saying? And I'm not sure how that works for the killing and the systemic injustice and the institutionalized racism and the socioeconomic situations that people had to go through, and even urban removal and urban genocide, I would call it, by moving people out of certain places and and not letting them come back. I mean, like, if we even remember Juneteenth, when that happened in and I'm talking about the Tulsa riot. They never let the black people come back to that where they were, where Black Wall Street was. They never let them come back because the white folks moved in to that neighborhood. They built it back up or whatever it was and moved into that neighborhood, where they moved all the black people out of that neighborhood. So you taking away their chance to make any money, and for what they were doing, running businesses and companies and movie theaters and things like that. They never had a chance to do that anymore because of urban removal, right? And you get that 40 acres and a mule, reparations, naming of streets, monuments, things like that. I mean, did you get it? Did you get it? No. I mean, even in, I think it was Nova Scotia, I heard that there was a place called Africaville. In Africaville, they moved these people out of Africaville in dump trucks. So they didn't give them a chance to get any wealth or put their name back or stamp down on the place that they were at. So I mean, that's ridiculous, man. So and listen, we talk about Canada in a minute, but with reparations, because I'm not even sure about this one either. You know what I mean? But again, emancipated slaves, you know, if they were to possess all the, if they were to possess anything of their labor from what they had to work and give it to their descendants, I mean, their descendants would own, or even a share possession of their labor, man. They would be, wow, the social and economic wealth. To think about it, if emancipated slaves were to possess or share the American social and monetary wealth, they would own half of America. Think about that. You see why people don't, you see why they don't want to give reparations? Because knowing that that if they were to possess or share in the labor and collect the profits, they would truly control a bigger portion of America, man. Amazing. Can you understand that one? I'm gonna have to say that one again, because that one, it's a tough one, because I'm thinking, if, now these are emancipated slaves that are free, and if they were to own or share in the profits of their labor, wow, imagine that. Half of America would be owned by black people, man. Maybe even most of it. Hey, there's a the Vibe magazine. They wrote they published an article that's saying that they argued that racial health and disparities from slavery to Jim Crow have until now have cost black Americans health and lost wages. Same thing. I mean, unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. Just think. Wow. To share in the profits of their labor. Unbelievable. Think about that one. I mean, this is why reparations is a huge word, man. It's tough for everybody. But somehow maybe there's people who think it should happen, and there's people who say it shouldn't happen. And I mean, that's why you reparations. Some people think reparations should happen because of that one. But then there's people who think reparations shouldn't happen, and they think that the statute of limitation is already run out, so you can't actually take it to court anymore. And even Mitch McConnell was thinking, yeah, it's America's sin, biggest sin, but he's thinking that people that's living or currently living wasn't responsible for slavery. I mean, wow. That's a dude, you know what? That dude, his forefathers probably owned slaves. You know what I mean? And there ain't no question that there's people who are probably still alive who were responsible. And if they're not, they're responsible for what's happening now, where you still have systemic racism, you still have institutionalized racism, you still have police brutality, socioeconomic disparities, and just the racial equality. None of that has happened, and it's still going on. So I don't know, man. It's still here. It's still happening. I mean, you can't get, and all the companies wanted insurance papers to see if where the descendants of the slaves were, and how many, if there are any slaves. You don't have any papers because they never actually wrote down anything about the slaves or where they came from. So you're not going to find any papers. So they won't have any papers, man. Unbelievable. And all states were adopting that legislation to find, so you can have papers. Nobody had any papers, man. So, just another thing about reparations, man. Why they don't want reparations. And people are scared of reparations. And truly, like I said, if they were to share in the profits of their labor, unbelievable. Unbelievable. And there's certain places that are putting in money or contributing to, I don't know if it's for reparations or something, but I mean, you got Princeton Theology Seminary, they're committing 27 million. Virginia Theology Seminary, 1.7. And the Wachovia Apology, and then even J.P. Morgan and Chase. That's the bank. See, because all these banks had to, they had to write checks for selling, for when you purchase slaves and selling slaves, right? So these big banks, man, are totally at the head of this thing, so they can do whatever they want to do. I mean, you think about it. Think about those Lloyds of London, man. I mean, that's one of the biggest banks. And yet, they were paying out slave owners. They weren't giving reparations. And I don't know about, Canada. Canada's giving out reparations to everybody else except black people. Because, I mean, they're thinking that, black people weren't descendants of the black people who came here weren't descendants of slaves. when you had the Underground Railroad that's coming up from the U.S. You had the transatlantic slave policy. So I don't know how they can think that you wouldn't want to pay reparations to some of these people. You feel what I'm saying? So I don't know, man. And we ain't never had no apology from any prime ministers or anything else. But I mean, I understand that the indigenous people got the reparations, which is probably, I don't even think there's no amounts of money that can pay them back for the lost life and what they did to the indigenous people, man. So, and black people, I don't know if there's going to be reparations in Canada. But I mean, I don't know. I can't even say I hope, because, hey, listen, systemic racism is still going on in Canada. They can't even say that. Some parts keep saying that systemic racism doesn't even exist, you know? And the police brutality still happens. The institutionalized racism still happens with these companies who you don't see any black people on their company at the top level of management. It's like the city. I mean, in the city of Vancouver, where's the are there any black people at the upper management level? You know what I mean? Parks Board, is there? I don't believe so. You feel what I'm saying? So, I mean, is reparations gonna happen? For everyone else, most likely. But for black people, I don't know, man. It's a lot tougher, because maybe the color of the skin makes it makes it harder for them to own up to the past. But in order to move to the future, or even to the present, you need to own up to the past, because it did happen. Slaves did come here. You know what I mean? And Canada treated them real bad. People owned slaves here, man. So you can't deny that Canada owned slaves. So that point about people who came here weren't descendants of slaves is ridiculous. This is why the fight continues, man, because of this nonsense. So people, I don't know, man. Y'all gonna have to watch. I think Sunday. I think my man W. Kamau is having a thing on CNN about. I think it's about reparations. So you can watch that and get more information about reparations for the United States. And I don't know if he's going all over, but just reparations in general, and you'll see more. But I mean, I don't know. I don't have no more. I can't shed no more light on it. But hopefully it'll happen, and maybe. But then, if it's gonna happen, how much money should they be paid? You know what I mean? So that's gonna be the issue right there. So they probably gonna litigate that till who knows when. But anyway, yo, enough of this reparations, man, because it's a tough thing, and it sucks, because the pandemic is still happening. The pandemic of racism is still happening, and it's like I said, man, the virus does not discriminate. Only racism does. So y'all gotta stay safe. Make sure y'all wear your mask. Social distance. You know what I mean? Wash your hands. Stay out of the big groups. And because you need to understand, this thing doesn't just affect you. It affects your entire family. So make sure you do that. You understand what I'm saying? Stay safe. Yo, I'm your man Valentine, baby. If you think it's your time to shine, you need to get on the grind with your man Valentine.